no reason for those bees to sting me. Okay?
Wow.
Oh, don't sting me. But I guess that wasn't calm. But you've all been sitting on a bench drinking a Coke, right? Had a bee come in and visit you? What do?
Run.
Swat it, scream, yell, knock it into somebody else, all bad things. Like I said, bees won't sting away from a hive unless you harm them. Okay? So, you can just kind of push it away. You don't want it to go down inside your Coke and then drink it. That always hurts, stings you on the inside of the throat. I've had that happen before. That's a little scary. But that mainly happens in the fall of the year, not the spring of the year. Anybody guess why? Okay, what happens in the spring of the year? What's going on right now? It rains. Plants are coming up everywhere, and they're producing nectar, which is sugar and water, which is their natural food. Now you could put a Pepsi on this hive right now, and the bees wouldn't even look at it. Okay, but in the fall of the year, they will go after any sugar source they can. Okay. Why don't you step back? Notice that there aren't many bees coming in right now. Yeah. If you look behind you,
oh wow,
you got all the foragers coming in, and they're confused. So let's everybody move over here for just a second and see the difference of how many bees come in all of a sudden. Okay, same deal here. Hold it so the sun shines on the bottom, okay? You can see the glistening stuff, you can see some yellow pollen up there, okay? And here, have it here and here, okay? The glistening stuff is nectar, okay? He goes out, collects nectar from the flower. Nectar is sugar and water. Goes out and takes it into its stomach. Now nectar contains basically sugar and water. The sugar in nectar is a complex sugar. It's like the sugar that would occur in a candy bar or a Pepsi.
They don't want to eat it.
And when you eat that, in order to use it for energy, you have to digest it. You have to drink it. No empty space.
I don't want to go on my fingers. Maybe I need to use my finger.
My finger.
Yeah, I'm not taking it.
My finger.
If you got nectar,
They look so pretty.
Some do, and
Don't
then
they?
some don't.
Fingers want to pet them.
Like they look furry.
Fingers want to pet them.
On the little,
Take them
like
home
on
as a
their
pet.
body behind the hedge. Yeah.
whoa, it's heavy. Weighs about 70 pounds. Probably should smoke it again. Now, see, this is the area where they're storing the honey up here. You didn't see any brood or anything, any of the young in there. And the way we keep the queen out of here is we put what's called a double queen excluder here. This is just a grid of bars. Queen's down here. The worker bees can come up and go down, but since the queen's a little bit bigger, it keeps out of that area. So she doesn't lay eggs in the area you're producing your honey. Another shot here. What it does is the smoke causes them to go outside and drink honey, and when they fill their stomachs up full of honey, that's a calming effect on it. If we didn't do that, we'd probably be in trouble right now. But it calms them. And it's a nice day. These are very docile bees, as you can see. Careful. So every time they sting you, as if you grab one. still not seeing many drones. These are all worker bees. These are all the sterile females. You can tell when bees are mad. They'll start pumping their veil. Boom, 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 boom. They're following the carbon dioxide off their breath. Let's go back over here in the sun again. He's going to die anyway.
So, Professor, you said when they make these choice?
Yeah, okay. Queen lays an egg in the bottom. Hold this up so the sun shines in the bottom. You can see some larvae in there.
Yeah.
Okay? Once they reach the pupal or the cocoon stage, then they put the caps on it.
Okay.
Okay? Then once the bee comes out of the cocoon, she eats the caps off from the inside out.
Okay.
Take it and pass it around. I've got another one. You can see larvae in there. You can see different sized larvae in there. You can see some little tiny ones. They're swimming in a pool of white stuff. The white stuff is royal jelly. You heard of that before? Yeah, some of you have. You know, humans eat it. It's supposed to do all this good stuff for you. What happens is, once the larvae hatch out, for the first half of the life of the larvae, they get royal jelly. And the adult bees produce it in some glands in their head, and they stick it in those cells and the larvae eat it. Then, if you're producing a worker bee, which all these are, or a drone bee, which is the male bee, halfway through the larval stage, the bees switch them over to honey. Okay? If you're producing another queen, it's royal jelly all the way through the larval stage. That makes sense? So that's what's called caste determination. Queen lays the egg. She has an option of fertilizing that egg or not. If she doesn't fertilize the egg, it'll eventually turn into a drone. If she fertilizes the egg, it'll eventually turn into another queen or a worker. So that's how you end up with a drone, a worker, or a queen. Egg's not fertilized, royal jelly, switch over to honey, equals drone. Egg is fertilized, royal jelly, honey, equals worker. Egg is fertilized, royal jelly all the way through the larval stage, equals a queen. Okay? Now these are all worker bees. That one I pulled out was a drone. That's the male. His sole function is to mate with a queen. That's all he does. He doesn't do any of the work. He doesn't clean the hive. He doesn't guard the hive. He doesn't feed the young. He doesn't pack the pollen. There's 15 different duties inside there. Workers do nothing. I mean, the drones do nothing. All they do is, this time of the year, they mate with the queen. That's their sole function. And what happens this time of the year, they fly to what's called a drone congregation area, which is an area up in the sky, where there's a whole bunch of drones hanging around. Okay? And what will happen if a virgin queen comes by there, she'll fly through there as fast as she can. Who read the book? Why is she flying fast?
So she could natural selection the fastest.
Yeah, biggest, fastest one's going to get her. You know, better genetic material. He hits her in midair, they fall on the ground, she rips his genitalia off, and he dies. You guys have to life of
That
a drone
sucks.
trait. Nope. She will mate with up to 15 drones on an initial flight. Then she'll go back to the hive, and for the next 3 years, she stores, and this is amazing, she stores those sperm in her body, and she can fertilize eggs off those initial sperm for 3 years. Never comes back out of the hive. Then she dies out, bees raise a new queen. How they raise a new queen? Huh? Yeah, they pick an egg that the queen's old queen's laid, it's fertilized, and they make a special cell around it, feed the larvae royal jelly all the way.
Can I go after you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, see that white stuff?
Those are the
That's that
larvae?
jelly stuff that he was talking
Yeah.
about, that she fertilizes only certain ones.
So all those ones are going to be not
Females.
drones.
Yeah.
So all the black ones are going to be drones?
Like a pollen collection.
Or what are
Look at
these
the
over
picture
here
here.
in the light?
It's just pollen.
Most all these bees are
And the ones that are
collecting
capped are already in their
nectar.
cocoons.
Pollen collecting bee, I don't see any. Okay, the way a bee collects pollen, maybe we'll catch one in a minute. She goes out to the flower, and she's got hairs all over her body, but her hairs are branched like a cactus. So what happens is she goes through the pollen area and gets these little pollen granules all over her body, all right? And then in flight, she'll just pack them, and she packs them into big balls on the hind legs. I was trying to find that. Then she'll go in, kick it into the cells. What do they need the pollen for? Pollen is very high in protein. What else is high in protein?
Honey.
Not honey. Honey is just sugar and water.
Oh.
Royal jelly, right?
Chocolate jelly.
It's very high in protein. So they need that pollen source for the adult bees to eat to produce the royal jelly. Now, some of you were asking about the way this thing was built. If you had a hive up in a tree, okay, you would have frames just like that, of course, without the wood or the plastic. Frame, 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 all hanging parallel to each other. That's the way bee comb is made. There's always a space in between called the 3/8 of an inch, called the bee space. And all the beekeeper does is they start off with a frame like this, but without the wax, okay? And once the bee makes the honeycomb and it's all put back together, you have that natural space in between. So what's happening is we're simulating what occurs in nature. Okay, yeah, the way a hive is built is, about what occurs in nature. If we put that hive back together and we left one of these frames out, what do you think the bees would do? They'd fill it in, and then we'd have a big mess. No, they leave. That's why, maybe why when we smoke it, they put it full honey, because in nature you had a forest fire, let's get out of here. Now, when I first smoked the hive, I smoked the entrance, because at the entrance, they're what are called the guard bees, okay? And the guard bees are the worker bees that protect the hive, okay? Their sole function is to protect the hive against intruders. We would have been considered intruders, all right? Or maybe if you had wasps that came in and tried to steal something, the guard bees would fight them off. What do you think? If a bee came out of one hive, accidentally went back to the wrong hive, what would the guard bees do?
Kill them.
You think so, but no. You made a mistake. Come on in. You come on in. You're okay. You got something good. Come on in. You got nectar. You got nectar. You got nectar. They don't kill them. But in the fall of the year, remember I said bees will go after any sugar source they can? So you get bees from one hive attempting to rob another hive. And then you got cops and robbers going on there. The guard bees and the robber bees. So everybody's got a duty. There's robber bees in there. There's a sanitary corps in there. Some of you asked why it was so dark in the brood-rearing area. What happens is once that bee comes out of that cell, she's gone through a life cycle. There's calfskins in there. There's species in there. Queen doesn't like that. So one of the duties of some of the worker bees is to pack that into the cell walls. So over age it becomes darker and darker. What's bee poop look like?
Brown.
The yellow dots on your cars. Okay, it's the yellow dots, or depending on the type of pollen. Bees like to defecate on cars, and they even have certain colors that go on. Okay.